Good afternoon, everybody. It is time for our Team Kentucky update. Big day today, a lot of information, a lot of special guests to join us. Today, I want to discuss some incredible recent economic development announcements that are major contributors to our current momentum, and they are helping to ensure that Kentucky residents have quality job opportunities and careers. Toyota recently made public its plans to invest $461 million for continued upgrades at Toyota Motor Manufacturing in Georgetown. The project will increase operational speed and flexibility at the Scott County plant and prepare the location for future vehicle electrification. The investment follows news that the facility also will begin the assembly of integrated dual fuel cell modules for use in hydrogen-powered heavy-duty commercial trucks beginning in 2023. That's an important year. With this latest investment, Toyota will transition 1,400 workers currently employed through staffing agencies to direct Toyota roles, with new hires being offered direct positions as well. Toyota has been such a driving force in this Commonwealth and in our automotive industry for more than 30 years, investing a total of $8.5 billion at TMMK, the company's largest production facility in the world. And this latest investment ensures the company's impact will continue well into the future. Today, I'm joined by Susan Elkington, president of TMMK, Kim Ogle, corporate communications manager for Toyota Motor North America, and others. I want to personally thank them both for their commitment that has meant so much to our Commonwealth, that in many ways helped cement our place over 30 years ago as an automotive leader, and we have been able to grow in such incredible ways together. So I want to turn it over to a great leader here in Kentucky, both at Toyota, at so many of our workforce development initiatives, been a wonderful member of Team Kentucky. So Susan, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Governor Beshear. I appreciate the opportunity to share some of the exciting things that are happening at Toyota Kentucky. For 35 years, Toyota has been part of the landscape of Kentucky, and we are thankful for the strong support of our elected officials, our community members, and business partners, and most importantly, our team members. Even with many challenges in 2021, we've been full of milestones, innovations, and positive changes at Toyota Kentucky. In the last 9 months, our team members produced the plant's 13th million vehicle, our 14th million engine, and our 10 millionth Camry. The Camry has been the #1 selling sedan in the United States for 19 years in a row, or we're going on our 19th year in a row, and we're very excited about that. In August, Toyota announced TMMK's engine plant as a site for assembling hydrogen fuel cell drivetrains for Class 8 semi-trailers or tractors, expanding our portfolio of electrified vehicles and products. And last month, we announced the $460 million investment to transform Georgetown's plant from Toyota's leading North America sedan manufacturer to a more flexible operation capable of producing SUVs and full electric vehicles. This project will enhance our advanced manufacturing equipment and technologies, help Toyota move forward in becoming carbon neutral, increase operational efficiencies and the ability to move rapidly to meet the evolving markets, and expand our powertrain products mixed with a new engine line. None of these would be possible without our team members, who are the heart of Team MK. To help strengthen recruiting efforts and retain top talent, Team MK will transition its employment model in January from a temp to hire structure to a direct hire. And this means current and future production team members will be offered a direct job and have the pride of building a career at Toyota as a team member from day one. And I can tell you personally what it means to be able to have this symbol on my shirt. As Toyota's most experienced assembly plant in the United States, with a workforce of over about 9,000 TMK, is transforming physically and strategically to meet the changing needs of our customers. 15 years ago, Toyota built the first US-produced hybrid electric vehicle, the Camry, and was launched right here in Kentucky. Imagine what we'll do in the next 15 years. The new investment at Team MK is part of Toyota's overall goal to usher in a more affordable electrified vehicles for the U.S. customer, significantly reducing carbon emissions while securing and creating even more American jobs for the future of mobility. Today, Toyota electrified vehicles account for about 25% of our total U.S. sales. And by 2030, we expect that to grow to over 70%. To meet this growing demand, Toyota will continue to steadily expand its lineup of electrified vehicles, including hybrids, plug-in hybrids, fuel cells, and full battery electric vehicles. Toyota is doing this as part of for our customers' transition to electrification, but to be successful, we need the opportunity to compete on an equal, level playing field with all automakers, allowing customers to choose vehicles that best fit their needs. As the U.S. transitions to a more robust electric vehicle fleet to achieve carbon neutrality, we appreciate the governor's support in ensuring that Congress treats all American auto workers fairly, letting consumers choose the best electric vehicle for them, regardless of where it's built in the United States or by whom, and not picking winners and losers by fairly applying tax incentives as part of the Build Back Better plan. Toyota has been a leader in alternative powered vehicles, and we transform to the next phase of electrification and mobility. I'm excited that Team MK and Kentucky will be at the forefront in the United States. So thank you again, Governor, for the time to speak today.
Well, thank you to Susan and her team. This is huge news that ensures that such a critical part of our economy has decades to come. And I know that they would not have been chosen for this significant investment without team members here in Kentucky working so hard, doing such a good job, and earning the faith of the company. So thank you for your leadership and for all those new permanent full-time jobs that are going to provide for over 1,000, what about 1,400 Kentucky families. I also want to highlight a recent announcement from Helpware, a digital customer service company, which is creating 300 new jobs across 2 Kentucky locations by the end of the year. Helpware serves financial technology, health tech, e-commerce, and a range of other industries, helping companies complete complex tasks while growing their brands. The company is creating 150 jobs with an expansion in Mount Sterling, which will open in 2020 and currently employs 25 people. Its leaders also announced a new office in Harrodsburg with 150 new jobs. These positions include an hourly wage of $23.30 before benefits. But as you'll hear from Helpware's leadership momentarily, the company has set its sights on continued growth and more job creation in our state. Helpware is a welcome addition to Kentucky, as the company has already proven to be a great community partner. During the pandemic, the company provided services for government and charitable organizations to assist with COVID-related programs. That's the sort of local investment and involvement that we can all get behind. I'll let Robert Nash, President and CEO of Helpware, and Nick Manella, Chief Operating Officer, give a little more background about the company, and they also have some very exciting news to share.
Hey, good afternoon. This is Robert Nash. I'm the CEO and President of Helpware. With me is Nick Manella, who's our Chief Operating Officer. Say hi, Nick.
Hey guys, good to be here. Thank you.
I want to thank Governor Beshear. I want to thank the Economic Development Committee. And really important for us, we want to thank the local support in both Montgomery and Mercer County. The County Judge Executive, Wally Johnson, in Montgomery County, Mount Sterling Mayor Al Botts, and Executive Director of the Montgomery County Industrial Authority, Jason Rainey. Down in Mercer County, Judge Executive Millward Dedman, and Mike Willand, who's the Executive Director of the Industrial Development Authority, has been a tremendous help as we've gone through this process. And we couldn't be more proud with what we're doing in Kentucky. We're a Kentucky-based company. Both Nick and I live here in the Commonwealth, and we have for a long time. And Helpware is on the cutting edge. We put our people first, and we set the standard for amazing experiences working with some of the fastest growing, most innovative and evolutionary companies in the world. And we're doing that from Kentucky. And it's really the truly amazing people of Kentucky that's proven invaluable in making this opportunity a reality. So I'd like to say thank you to the team. We're very proud to be part of Team Kentucky. And I want to introduce Nick, turn this over to him so he can tell you a little bit more about Helpware.
Yeah, thanks, Robert. So Helpware was founded in 2015, and we are a digitally enabled people as a service outsourcer provider, providing multi-channel customer care and artificial intelligence operations. As Robert said, we support some of the coolest companies in the world, including companies in industries like health technology, gaming, fintech, e-commerce, software, and others. We've also provided services to government and charitable organizations to assist with COVID-related programs during this pandemic. We anticipate Kentucky being our largest global location. Other than Kentucky, we're in California, Colorado, Virginia, and we maintain a global presence with locations in Germany, Mexico, the Philippines, and Ukraine. We're on pace to achieve our second straight year of 400% growth and are forecasting a similar trajectory in 2022, with our Kentucky operations playing an absolute critical role in achieving that milestone.
Perfect. Thanks, Nick. And I believe you've got a special announcement. You heard Governor Beshear announce that we were planning to hire 300 by the end of the year, but
yeah. So it sounds like through some recent news on our side, we're going to increase that 100 to a total of 400 here needed in Kentucky. So we're extremely excited about that.
Yeah, so excited and thankful. And we started so strong in Kentucky that we're able to do more, and that's going to be the path. So we're hiring now in both Montgomery, Mercer County, and surrounding areas. So apply at helpware.com. We're literally in the process. You can start as soon as next week. Thank you very much, Governor. Thank you, team. And we're proud to be part of Team Kentucky.
Well, thank you to Robert and Nick. And admittedly, that is the first time that I've heard that news. So 100 new jobs today, another week of six-figure additional jobs, and so many gems like this one in Kentucky that it's exciting that we can give at least a little bit of voice to, a little bit of attention to. And what I'll tell them is feel free to continue to expand. We appreciate you. Next up, and it's one of the last ones that came out near the end of last week, Inoac Group North America. It's adding 50 full-time jobs in Springfield. It is another company with a long-standing presence in our state, having been in Washington County since about 1990. It's a manufacturer of plastic, rubber, polyurethane, and composite products for several industries, including automotive. And that automotive presence is what's getting stronger. So we talked a little bit about what the new battery plant will do, but Ford's other plants continue to create more jobs in their current existing supply chain. So to support new business with Ford's Kentucky truck plant in Louisville, Inoac is investing in facility upgrades and new equipment technology. It's going to create new positions that include production operators, team leaders, quality and material handling roles, in addition to its current employment already about 330 people. All these positions are good pay with an average of $25 per hour, including benefits. Inoac is a great company. We appreciate their presence here in Kentucky. Again, they should feel free to continue to expand, and we'll look forward to helping them do that. All right, for our next group of special guests today, we've got some good news for 3 Eastern Kentucky counties who have come together as a community to rebuild after devastating floods the past 2 years. But admittedly, they've had to rebuild after devastating floods for so many years in our recent past. So today I'm excited to announce an award of more than $1.1 million to help local governments in Johnson, Lawrence, and Morgan counties restore damaged infrastructure. These awards include more than $421,485, not more than, that is an exact number, for the Johnson County Fiscal Court, $391,913 for the city of Paintsville, $156,379 for the Lawrence County Fiscal Court, and $147,846 to the Morgan County Fiscal Court. These dollars are going to go to pay the local cost share match requirements to secure FEMA dollars. In other words, FEMA says, we've got these dollars to help you rebuild, but you've got to match them with local dollars. And these counties and communities are already spending their money helping people to get back on their feet. This is where the state can come in, can help them pay that local match, which of course goes directly into aid, but then adds all those federal dollars on top. So these Eastern Kentucky counties were hit by historic flooding, but this funding will ensure our families can once again travel on safe roads and bridges, have high quality drainage systems, and have the confidence that their infrastructure can withstand what we will see in the future. A large part of this is all of our desire to be more resilient, to work towards a future where even these biggest weather incidents don't disrupt our lives in the same way and don't cause the devastation that we have seen. So we got three great special guests on these today. I'd first like to welcome Morgan County Judge Executive, a friend of mine, John Will Stacy, who used to be on the third floor here in the Capitol. He is a great partner in these efforts to help our people recover. John Will.
Governor, first of all, I would like to thank you for expediting these funds for us, because without your help on these local small county budgets, we can't continue to do the repairs and do the maintenance that it requires to help everyone in Kentucky travel safely and get it to and from their homes safely to work and to school. And so it's gratifying to see that you and your administration, Governor, recognize that. It's also really gratifying for me as a former legislator and a county judge now. It's important to see that how great a role you're taking in the new economic development recreation of Kentucky, because these tax dollars that we're going to spend on creating new roads and repairing the ones we have couldn't be done without your hard work in creating jobs in Kentucky. So thank you very much, Governor, and we all appreciate it.
Thank you. All right. Thank you again, John. Well, good to see you. I'd also like to invite Johnson County Judge Executive Mark McKenzie to say a few words. I've been in his county really recently, celebrating some real accomplishments, making a big investment in the school system there. Judge, it is good to see you again.
Good to see you as well, Governor. Thank you so much. And it was good to have you in our county a few weeks ago, and it was good announcements then, and appreciate the assistance today. As has been mentioned, the disasters create quite a bit of stress on our financial means in counties from these disasters. And Johnson County was not immune to it, as well as a lot of our neighbors. We experienced significant damages back in February and March from two natural disasters. You have stress at the time that the disaster occurs as you try to manage it, and then you have stress on your community as you try to recover from that. And one of those areas that we are affected is while we do get the FEMA support, both federal and then state level, and that is very much appreciated, there is a financial obligation to the local community. And so Johnson County sustained, just from the March flood event, we had approximately $3 million in damages to our infrastructure system, our roads, bridges, and various facilities. And that put a requirement on us to match that with an excess of $420,000. And so we are appreciative of the local match participation program, the LMPP program, that helps us meet that match so that we can try to restore our community to at least where we were, if not in better condition, and to prepare ourselves for the future. So from Johnson County, we appreciate the governor. We appreciate the folks at the Department of Local Government and all the state officials that understand the importance of this program and the funding, and how this really helps us to put ourselves back and restore our communities to where we were prior to the disaster. So once again, we appreciate the support for the program. Thank you.
All right, and last but absolutely not least, we have Paintsville Mayor Bill Mike Runyon joining us today. Thanks for joining us, Mayor.
Governor, on behalf of the city of Paintsville, myself, the citizens of Paintsville, we sure appreciate these monies. Without these monies, we would be strapped. We're strapped now, but because of you and what you've done, it's going to make us a much better place to live, and it's going to keep our citizens safe. And we so much appreciate you. And keep going and keep doing what you're doing. Team Kentucky. Thank you, Governor.
From now on, Mayor Runyon's doing all these press conferences for me. Thank you, sir. All right, so today I want to briefly go over some initiatives in an area that we know we've needed to do better, where we need more permanent fixes to ensure that if we ever go through something like what we have seen, that our unemployment insurance works better, works faster, is more responsive, and that we are making the necessary investments now to deal with a future situation, and we don't continue to make the mistakes of the past when we failed to invest, to upgrade, and to sufficiently staff, and then something that we had never seen before at the level hit. So I want to go over 4 initiatives that we are or will be currently working on as related to UI. And the last one will lead into an announcement that Secretary Link is here to talk about further. Number 1 is the new UI system. We've talked about this before, but it is hard to understate. A system based on a platform created before I was born, and remember, these are computers, and when code is that old, it's been outdated 1,000, 3,000 times, and requires us to bring back retirees because no one has subsequently been trained in it, just to help us get basic information out of the system. This thing is 10 years too late, but we're doing it now. The RFP has closed. It is being scored as we speak. It is going to be done right, which was really important, and there admittedly was a delay for that. But we are going about the business of getting this in place. And my commitment, certainly while I'm here, but it ought to be all of Kentucky's commitment, is to upgrade it after it is in place. You know, whether that's 5 years or 10 years, it needs to be upgraded, and we need to think about a schedule of dollars and how they are going to do that. We cannot allow, especially with what we'll talk about as the second initiative, us to ever get behind, much less 40, almost 4 years behind the technology and the platform that something so important is on. Number 2, second thing we're working on right now that we have done is we have to effectively address the fraudulent claims in a way that don't drown the real claims. So right now, for lack of a better term, they all go into the same pot, and the timing of when everybody provides the identification is about the same, and we have to sort through tens of thousands of now fraudulent claims to potentially find the real claim. That slows us down significantly, and it raises concerns that we would pay out fraudulent claims because there are so many. This has now been done. This is moving the required identification process up front. So to file your claim now and to be in the system, you have to prove that you are a real person first, and not us try to, pursue fraudulent claims and say, where are your IDs? By doing this, we ferret out those tens of thousands. We make it more likely that every single one comes in is a real claim. It doesn't mean it will qualify, because remember, and we may even be talking to people at different times, just because you file a claim doesn't mean you qualify. For instance, if you quit your job, you don't qualify for unemployment, but this at least gets rid of the bots. This gets rid of the cyber attacks from other countries, which we know that we have seen. So we start on the first. a system that works. And second, that removes all the fraudulent claims. Then the third, for the valid claims, you are going to see me propose once again, like I did in the last budget, funding for sufficient staff. We do not have them. We do not have enough people that can work the claims, and we've lost people that can work the claims. I'd like to say that this is done in Greek, but it's probably an even more complex language than that. And what that means is we need more people who can process, right? And more people who can train, and more people who can cross-train. And we're going to get to that part in a minute. But remember, this staff was cut more than 90 people in the years leading up to ultimately my administration, but leading up to this crisis that we hit. Could you imagine if we had 3 times the number of processors that we do right now, and what that could have meant throughout? And we asked for this last time, and what we were told is, well, you can hire people with the limited federal funds. Well, that's not a permanent employee. These have to be regularly funded folks that come into our regular employment system that know that they have a career in this system. And we're going to do something in our next budget to address pay so that we make sure that we are not just getting them, but we are keeping them. And here's the last piece, and this is certainly going to be a bit of news to folks, is we are going to move forward with a merger of our education and labor cabinets. What we saw in both UI when it hit, as well as working with the U.S. Department of Labor, is that our structure of our bureaucracy, meaning how we handle state government, was doing a number of things. Number one, it was making it harder to get government grants because both of these cabinets, for the most part, are under the U.S. Department of Labor. Second, when the U.S. Department of Labor rightfully checks to see if we're doing everything right, and we are, we had a huge challenge with getting information because they're coming from 2 separate cabinets to them in a way that showed that we were doing things right. For instance, we had an audit where initial findings weren't very positive, which by the end of, we think we can show you everything was fine. The challenge was our structure and getting them the correct and accurate information. Also allows us to put offices that do similar things, apprenticeships and others, close to other offices that do the same, that make sure we are not duplicating efforts and give us a better overall result. But the final thing is, one thing we saw we had to do in this crisis is we had to pull other employees in from other cabinets that didn't necessarily have the same background and weren't necessarily under the same roof. This creates the cabinet that has UI within it being much larger, with the ability as we move forward to cross-train employees should the need occur in other areas, to not just have a larger, more robust group in UI itself, but to have folks that already have the basic training and that we will update over time, that at a moment's notice we can call in and they would be ready to go or close to ready to go. This will continue with our current Labor Cabinet Secretary, Jamie Link. Mary Pat Reagan, who is our acting Education Cabinet Secretary, will be a Deputy Secretary in that Labor Cabinet, as Vicki Wise will also continue. We've had an opportunity to talk to numerous folks about this, and we believe, and our feedback is, education and workforce are inseparable. They are inseparable, whether we're talking about training, whether we're talking about K through 12 and then going into the workforce, whether we're talking about K through college or graduate school into the workforce. This is a continuum. And it's been recognized as such by the country. For instance, the grants that we have a hard time competing with because of the current structure. So we believe that this is a positive step that will make us more competitive, but also more resilient. So now, for a few words on that, I would like to call upon Secretary Jamie Link.
Thank you, Governor, and good afternoon. As the governor's mentioned, education and training are the foundations for workforce development. And the stronger our workforce is, the better it will lead Kentucky into the future. Making sure our economy, our education and training systems work for every family in the Commonwealth, that's what we're driven to do. Our agencies have and will continue to work together to provide Kentuckians with opportunities to obtain high-quality education and training, and will lead to successful careers and greater prosperity for our families. The two cabinets' missions have always been closely aligned, as the governor mentioned, towards serving Kentucky workers, Kentucky employers, and Kentucky taxpayers with job training and placement, worker safety and health, workers' compensation, and unemployment insurance. The traditional roles of the Labor Cabinet to promote the welfare of working people, to improve working conditions, and to enhance opportunities for gainful employment will not be lost with this merger. In fact, it will only enhance these roles. It will facilitate more efficient and effective communication and collaboration with local workforce boards, state and local chambers of commerce, state and federal agencies, as well as the Kentucky General Assembly. By combining these two cabinets, we will be able to develop a comprehensive workforce strategy to meet the needs of the many economic development projects that are currently happening at an unprecedented rate. As the governor has previously announced, more than 20,600 full-time jobs have been created in Kentucky, with a private sector investment of more than $11.4 million since December of 2019. We want to keep that momentum going. So thank you, and let's get back to work.
All right. Now we're going to move into a brief update on COVID. Then we're going to have one other piece I'm really excited about today, which is some real good news. First, yesterday I signed an executive order where now everyone over 18 qualifies for a booster shot here in the Commonwealth. So whether you've gotten Pfizer, Moderna, or J&J, if you are over 18 and it's been 6 months since the 2 shots or 2 months since the J&J, you are eligible and you need to go get it. Waning immunity is real. We are seeing more people who've been vaccinated in the hospital, especially 6 months after their second shot. And as the holidays are coming up, when the threat is greatest, when our numbers look like they are, if not plateaued, even ticking up a little bit, now is our chance to lift our immunity back up and to get back to that really good place we were right after vaccines were widely accessible. As we sit here today, 446,698 Kentuckians have had their booster shot. But to everybody else, if it's been 6 months, go get it and get it before Thanksgiving. Get it before Thanksgiving. Make sure that when you sit down at that Thanksgiving table with the people you love, you have the highest level of immunity to protect them. Also, if you got kids like mine, 5 to 11, at least get them that first shot before Thanksgiving. Again, that not only protects the kids, it protects the parents and the grandparents, because we'll have at least 3 generations at our table. Let's show you a little bit of why it's so important. Let's start with our updated graph on hospitalizations. Now, we talked about where we are, certainly in the very least plateauing. There are some indications we might be experiencing a slight uptick. It is hard to know yet, because remember, the plateaus go up and down. They are not a straight horizontal line. One day we'll have more, one day we will have less, but certainly worldwide, Europe, Russia, some other places, they are seeing a dramatic uptick, and it is similar to the time of year last year when we saw that. Number one thing we can do to stop that plateau or that uptick, get your vaccine, get boosted. And if enough people will do that, actually, if just everybody who's gotten the vaccine and it's been 6 months would go out and get boosted, we would see this number start to decline again, because there'd be only about 30% of the population that wouldn't be at that highest level. Over 18, that wouldn't be at the highest level of that immunity. Let's look at the ICU. We're seeing here, that looks more like a plateau, right? A little bit up, a little bit down. But the ICU increasing, if that's what we're going to see, follows the hospitalization. In other words, you end up in the hospital typically before you end up in the ICU, or the numbers increase a little faster for hospitalizations than ICUs. And then ventilators, I will say right now that definitely looks like a plateau. It's where we would want to keep it. Certainly with the amount of treatments we have now, we would hope, even if we see an uptick in hospitalizations, that between vaccines and monoclonal antibodies and the rest, hopefully we wouldn't need as many ventilators this time around. Vaccination status of COVID-19 cases, hospitalizations, and deaths. Look at how these numbers have changed. This is waning immunity. Remember those hospitalization numbers, the unvaccinated used to be 92%, meaning we've gone from 8 to 16% of the portion of who's hospitalized being fully vaccinated. That is all waning immunity. We can get the numbers back to where we saw them before, but this 16.4% of hospitalizations being vaccinated individuals, or 15.6% of deaths being vaccinated individuals, this is also avoidable. We always talk about the unvaccinated, right? The unvaccinated deaths being avoidable if you'll get vaccinated. Well, now the vaccinated deaths are avoidable if you will get the booster. So the tools are out there for everyone. And listen, I wish all we'd had to get is the first set of vaccines, but you can bet that I was going to get my booster if that meant that we stayed at the best level of protection. We get a flu shot every year, we can handle whatever we have to do on the vaccine side. And the supply is there. Unlike originally with the vaccines, the booster supply is there. I do think one thing we need to combat is a somewhat casual attitude towards when we get the booster. We really need some immediacy about getting the booster now. And people are right. Yes, even with waning immunity, they're a heck of a lot better off if you've been vaccinated but not boosted versus the unvaccinated. But truly, to be as protected as you need to be, and for us as a society and as a state to get this thing under control, I need you to get your booster. And vaccination's still effective. We look at cases that are vaccinated versus unvaccinated. And first of all, we might be plateaued or seeing an uptick, but look at where we were, right? Look at where we were. Let's make sure that not just we stay at this level. Let's ultimately get it closer to where we were in May and June. And just look at that. May and June, right, is the example of where we want to get with boosters. May and June is when we had the highest level of immunity from our initial vaccinations, 2 weeks after the second shot, when most people could get it. And look at how small the spread of disease was then, even compared to right now. So we see our path. We know what we need to do to go out and get those boosters. Between yesterday and today, we did have 5,755 new people get vaccinated. That's good. We were typically around 1,500, maybe 2,000 before 5/11 was opened up. I haven't read this in a while. Top counties, Fayette County, taking the lead at 70% of its population with at least one shot of hope. Woodford County, right behind it at 69%. Jefferson County, now in third with 67% of Jefferson County residents. And remember, that includes 0 to 5 as well, having at least their first shot of hope. And then since 5/11 opened up, just to give you a concept, it's really only been about a week and change of real opportunity. 23,105 of the 388,896 in that age group, or as you'll see in a minute, 6% already vaccinated. We have had some upticks in our demographics, which we don't always do via age. So let's go over them. first one is the best. We've ticked up 1% overall to 59% of all Kentuckians having at least their first dose of the vaccine. Went up 1% of all Kentuckians now eligible. And this is 63% of all Kentuckians that are eligible have gotten at least one shot, almost 2/3. And remember, a portion of these weren't eligible until last week or 10 days ago. And then 18 years and older, these are people who can make their own healthcare decisions, 71%. So, we think we hear and we focus on a lot of noise. Sometimes we act like it's a back and a forth. This is 71% of people who can make their own healthcare decisions right now have already gone out and gotten at least one shot. All right, and then a couple of other numbers here, but one I'm really excited about. The most concerning number to me was the 75 years and up, and it was at 89%, right? And you'd wonder, 89% is really great. This one really has to get to 100% or close. Every percentage we increase is good. This age group is extremely at risk, needs to get the booster and needs to get 10% that first shot. All right, the next 4 or 5 are the same, all the way down to 18 to 24. Just crossed the 50% threshold. Again, we'll celebrate every increase, but that's just 1 in 2. And then 5 to 11 between Monday and today went up 2%. So, we've got some brisk signups there. I think nationwide, they're going even faster than here. That is a good thing. And then I think our final COVID update is what I talked about a little on Monday. We are now closing the books on 2020 for purposes of the CDC, numbers of cases, numbers of deaths. Now, a lot has changed since this virus first hit, including their definitions for what classifies and doesn't as a case, and then death certificates themselves, 2 different issues I'll talk about in a minute. So first, in closing the books for our 2020, we are actually removing 1,008 cases that were determined on final review to not meet the surveillance case definition. This is 1,008 of, as you all know, a huge number of cases. That's mainly based on changing definitions, where we learn more about the virus. So today, we can also give you an official number of additional deaths for 2020, and it's 84. They occurred in the following months: April 3, this is 2020, May 3, June 1, August 3, September 2, October 10, November 25, remember that's the alpha surge, December 37. Deaths were in about 45 different counties. There are 2 primary reasons. One is on some death certificates, COVID wasn't written in. That's the way we were able to search. It is a text-based search. Instead, some just had numeric codes. So we've gone back and we have captured those. The second one, though, is that some practitioners have gone back and updated death certificates, and for the right reasons, but that we get the death certificate when it's initially filed, and it's perfectly reasonable or regular practice to where they can be amended, added, or changed depending on knowledge that comes later. And so this has allowed us to ultimately capture all of those. So as a result, just to give you an idea of what we expect on January 2021, there'll probably be about 46 additional deaths we'll go back and add then based on the coding information, and then we'll see as the death certificates come in and are changed. These don't change the statistics in measurable ways, but it is important. I mean, it is important. We've lost so much that everybody's counted who has been harmed. And so we're going to continue to work to make sure not just that we have the best data, but that everybody counts, and that everybody who succumbed to this disease, even in part, is included in our collective mourning and grief for their families. But now I get to end, before questions, on an exciting note, and that is our Team Kentucky All-Star for the day. I'm proud to announce that Dr. Everett McCorvey is today's Team Kentucky All-Star. Dr. McCorvey is a professor at UK's College of Fine Arts in the School of Music, teaching music performance and voice, and also serving as chair of opera studies. Let me tell you, folks, you know very quickly that someone has a lot more musical talent than you when their official biography lists their vocal range before anything else. Needless to say, mine does not. So let me tell you more about Dr. McCorvey, the tenor. He's originally from Montgomery, Alabama, aunt and uncle who lived down there, but he later realized the place to be was on Team Kentucky. He's performed all over the country and all over the world, bringing honor to this state. It includes the Metropolitan Opera, the Kennedy Center, Radio City Music Hall, and Queen Elizabeth Hall in London. Dr. McCorvey is the founder and music director of the American Spiritual Ensemble, which is the only professional ensemble of its kind focusing on preserving the African American spiritual tradition. Dr. McCorvey is also in his 6th season as the artistic director of the National Choral of New York. Remember, this is in addition to all his time teaching at UK. And that's not all. He's the director of the Opera Theater at the Lexington Opera Society, and he has served 5 governors on the Kentucky Arts Council. But what he has never done is something that I was proud to be able to appoint him as, or about to. Proud to announce that Dr. McCorvey will serve as the chair of the Kentucky Arts Council, stepping up even further to make a difference for our people and to inspire the industry. Here with him today is his wife, Alicia Helm McCorvey, and in case you were wondering, she is the soprano. So we're so happy you've chosen to raise your 3 kids in the Commonwealth. We thank you for your leadership role, and Dr. McCorvey, I know you're going to put me to shame, but come on up here. We appreciate you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here, and thank you, Governor Beshear, for this wonderful honor. It was the arts that got me up every day as a child to go to school in Alabama so that I could participate in the band. And when I came to Kentucky, I realized that Kentucky has a very, very rich history of the arts. I'm going to introduce my wife and ask her to come up with me. And we have been a team for a long time. And so the arts have played a vital role in our work here in Kentucky. And with all of the economic development things happening, Governor, and people coming into the Commonwealth, they're going to want to have a place to go and visit the arts. They're going to want to go and see all of the wonderful places in Kentucky where the arts are happening. They want to have places where their kids can take dance lessons and music lessons. And they want a city that is vibrant in the arts. And so we have that opportunity throughout the Commonwealth to make that happen. So thank you so much for this opportunity. And I am looking forward to serving on Team Kentucky. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you to Team McCorvey. And we cannot wait to see the incredible things that y'all will do. And thanks for being troopers sitting through all of it, because we always do our Team Kentucky All-Star to bat and clean up. So thank you all. All right, we'll now turn to questions. We've got, I think, 4 journalists here in the room and a whole bunch on the phone. So I always hate to promise this. I'm going to try to be brief in answers. Lawrence.
Governor, where does the unemployment backlog stand right now, and how will this merger of these 2 cabinets help them?
Well, let us get you those numbers, but I will say the hard answer is we don't know in terms of the valid claims, again, amongst all of the others. We are working right now through the ID.me system to remove all of the potentially fraudulent claims, or at some point after so many months, if we can't receive the documentation necessary, right, we've got to focus on another claim. I know we've had folks working even in a war room type situation on the oldest claims. But what this is going to do, if all of these things is first, the new system will solve a huge number of issues. Second, we will have fewer to, I hope, no fraudulent claims choking up the system. Third, we will have more people processing them on a day-to-day basis. And fourth, by having ultimately a larger cabinet where we have the ability once a year to provide a little bit of training across the cabinet, we will have backups that are there. What it means in the next week or two to existing claims, unfortunately, it won't make those go faster. But my commitment here is not just to get through those claims, but to make sure it doesn't happen again. And that's what a lot of this will do. Tom.
Thank you, Governor, and good afternoon. Is there any thought being given at this point to encouraging meetings to be done in person rather than virtual, or is it going to stay the way it is now for the foreseeable future?
Question is about meetings in person versus virtual. I think we're going to see a mix for the future. I think we're going to see it in business, in government, and in others. You know, we all want to be back in person, but that doesn't mean that virtual options don't allow more participation across the state. I mean, you all have covered this a long time, have heard it. If you live in far eastern or far western Kentucky, sometimes you feel like you're not heard as much or participating as much in Frankfort. I want to get back to more face-to-face contact. I think it's important for our society, but there are benefits to government, education, healthcare, and so many others being able to do more things virtually. So I think what you will see is a mixture of the two moving forward. And I can tell you that there are areas of state government where we have been more productive virtually. And then there are some where we need people back in. So the goal is to be smart about it, not just to go to the traditional or not just to guess at what's going to be the future, but to be smart about it. Carolina.
We're hearing from some people who say, even though you signed your executive order, they're still getting rejected for their booster shots when it comes to some of these big pharmacies out there. Have you heard about these problems, and what should people be doing in these situations?
Well, we have heard about these problems, and part of it is a time lapse, but others is the big pharmacies also have instructions they get from above, right, from the larger corporation. Certainly the local health departments ought to be places that we can turn to that will follow the executive order. But the other thing I'd say is hold tight, because I believe the federal government is going to follow our lead. It's not just the right thing to do, but admittedly, one of the reasons that I took the action I've taken and others have is to create the right type of pressure for an ultimate change in federal policy. I believe we're going to see that in the next week. That's my belief, but I'm reading the same tea leaves that you all are, and I don't have any inside information. So I would say call before you go to the place that you're going to. But remember, 80% of people qualify. So make sure you answer the questions correctly. If you have a forward-facing job, if you're in contact with a lot of people, you qualify. If you have any major underlying health condition, you qualify. So make sure that you answer the questions honestly, but correctly. Joe.
I have a couple of questions regarding the unemployment announcements today. The first question, the merging of the two cabinets, when I hear that, I hear possibility of job cuts or
No
money that's going to be saved with as far as the merging of these two cabinets.
I think long-term, our efficiencies are there, but we don't see any reduction in force other than one cabinet secretary, at least in the beginning. And remember, part of our problem in government right now, like everywhere else, is we're understaffed in many areas. So do I think we will secure efficiencies? Yes. From a personnel standpoint, if those happen, I think they'll be by attrition, meaning people who are retiring. If we consolidate their duties, then good. But there are going to be zero layoffs because of this.
Gotcha. And with the RFP process, I know there were issues with the first go around, and it seemed like cybersecurity issues that needed to be worked on was kind of the primary hang up why it needed to be put back out. How confident do you feel about those specific issues being dealt with through this current process? Yeah,
the first RFP process first took too long, but if it hadn't, we would not have gotten the tool that we need. So there were two problems with the first RFP process, and none of us, well, we didn't forecast the level of cyber attacks and of fraud that we saw all over the country, and no system was prepared for it. So when we came back and first tried to amend, right, to say, okay, for everybody who bid on this, now we need the best cybersecurity that's ever existed, which we pretty much do in that. And the cost just went through the roof. And at that point, it's not fair to simply amend as opposed to rebid because of what we needed. Thus far, we see no new issues, and thus believe that we will be able to move ahead. Complicated scoring process. Hopefully we will not have any challenges afterwards with big contracts. Sometimes you see those award challenges. When it is in place, it does take a significant period of time, but that doesn't mean we won't see improvements in the short term. All right, Debbie Yetter from the Courier-Journal.
Thanks, Governor. Can you describe how you're going to affect this merger of the two cabinets? How many employees are affected? Does it require any legislative oversight? And was it driven by the unemployment insurance situation?
First, we'll get you a number on the employees. It'll be the number of one cabinet plus the other. Again, there are absolutely no layoffs. We are right now consolidating leadership, and that's really on a consolidating the cabinets, and it'll be working with the employees on any new changes there. A formal recognition of it does take a reorganization bill filed within the state legislature. But I believe the legislature should want to give this governor and others the tools that they ultimately need to address the situations they face. So it's driven really by three things. One is grant funding and how it comes down given the structure of the U.S. Department of Labor. We don't mirror that structure well enough to be as competitive in some of the grants as I think that we should be. Second is compliance. Compliance with U.S. Department of Labor and others, the division creating issues meeting or the perception of meeting some of the requirements in our federal programs. And this became apparent in working directly with the U.S. Department of Labor. And third is, yes, UI. It needs to be a part of a larger, more robust cabinet where we're not pulling people out of finance or public protection, which we did, to come over in the future. This gives us a chance for cross-training and more resiliency if we are hit with something like this again. Bria Jones, WFPL.
You were just saying that it does take a legislative reorganization bill for this to happen. What is the timeline for this, the merger being solidified and being fully in effect?
Well, we are going to start operationalizing it now, working towards certainly a leadership structure, and then a bill will be filed in the state legislature. We hope they consider it. Certainly, asking for less cabinets as opposed to more should be something that falls into government philosophy of the majority. But we'll be talking with them. Certainly, we gave a heads up to Speaker and the Senate President, and again, we'll continue to talk to them about the reasons. Courtney Wheaton, Local 12, Cincinnati. Corey Sanning, WYMT. Okay, Corinne Boyer, WEKU. I'm nailing this.
Hi, Governor. Are you expecting a post-Thanksgiving surge? And then earlier this week, there was an opinion article in The Hill, and you were mentioned as a possible candidate for a 2024 run for president. Are you thinking about running for president in 2024?
No, I am not. I am running for governor in 2023. This is where I'm raising my family. This is where I'm from. This is where I want to be. And I mainly want the opportunity to do this job at a time when I believe we can create an economic future and a level of prosperity, the likes of which we have never seen, where we don't just leapfrog 2 states, but 25 states, and ultimately reaching our destiny. I think this is what I'm meant to do at this time in my life. And I love serving the people of Kentucky, even in the hardest time. Do I expect, this is an interesting transition, a post Thanksgiving surge? If the virus continues to behave like it has before, then that's something we could certainly see. But this virus continually changes in its efforts to kill as many of us as possible. We have more tools approaching Thanksgiving right now and more people eligible to be a part of or to take those tools here, vaccines, than we have ever had before. This is the first Thanksgiving where you have an opportunity for everybody at the table to be vaccinated and to have their booster with the highest level of immunity. Do I think we will see a surge? I think it is certainly possible, maybe even likely, but it is entirely avoidable. Emily Bennett, WSAZ.
Thank you, Governor. Yes, we talked about this a little bit, but the FDA and CDC aren't recommending that large of an age group to receive the booster yet, but obviously your executive order is kind of expanding that even more. Why did you make this decision? And do you really think that you're getting ahead of these federal health agencies?
Well, I do think we're ahead of the federal health agencies, but I think the data is clear. I think that what the federal health agencies are balancing is not what I balance as a governor. I mean, they are looking not just in the United States, but worldwide on the level of first vaccinations. I'm looking at the number of people that are hospitalized and dying in my state every single day. I know we can reduce the number of people hospitalized. I know we can reduce the number of people dying by everybody being eligible to get the booster shot. And it's that simple for me. Melissa Patrick, Kentucky Health News.
Hi, Governor. So I understand that you had a meeting with the judge executives and mayors yesterday. I'm just curious how many were on that phone call. And I'm also curious about how many of them, as trusted local leaders in their community, are telling you that they are actively messaging in their communities to promote vaccinations.
We can get you the number that we're on. Normally between mayors and county judges, we are 90 plus. I haven't asked for them to reply, admittedly, on how many are actively messaging. Certainly, I believe that many of them are. I think there are times where all of us, as leaders or as anybody out there, get tired or get numb, want to think about something else, want to talk about something else. But how critical it is, whether it's local or regional or state leadership, to keep it up. I know people are tired of hearing me talk about COVID, and I wish I didn't need to anymore. But it is still here. It is still deadly. It is not done with us, so we can't be done with it. I do think that also all the different types of leaders that are involved now, it is broader, as I know you know. I mean, the number of schools doing vaccine clinics right now, which is great leadership. Jefferson County, I think, almost hit 5,000 in a weekend, and I know so many more doing those clinics. Even Bourbon County schools that have just had to go to NTI because of COVID outbreaks, holding vaccine clinics in the midst of it. I will say I saw at least data from one school system that just went mask optional, that their number of cases tripled. And so, I think that we all ought to understand that we are still in this. We ought to mask. We ought to get vaccinated, and we all ought to continue messaging it. All right. We are just barely over time, despite that full program. Thank you all very much.